Hey everyone, I'm launching a new way I plan to handle kit releases from now on, starting with this video. The unfortunate truth about kit reveal days is, while they might be exciting, it's really not a good way to analyze most characters. No matter what anybody says, the only thing you can judge on day one is the text of their kit and possible interactions with those effects. Without access to things like the character's stats or their ability ratios, you only have a small piece of the big picture, especially when looking at tanks, or in this case, damage dealers. So, we'll still be doing kit reaction streams on the day of the kit drop, but I'm launching the kit analysis series alongside it to wait for when we have the full picture of the character, so I can give you the full breakdown on the quality of the character and if they're worth your time. Without further ado, let's check out Dark Trooper. Dark Trooper's kit ended up being incredibly number reliant, with most of his kit text adding nothing new to the Imp Trooper team that it wasn't already doing well. Fortunately for him, his stats came out as being quite impressive. A surprising base speed of 179 puts him exactly tied with Admiral Piet's. While I don't expect him to take Piet's spot in the turn order, this does give him the flexibility to either sacrifice speed budget in his mods for extra offense, or replace Piet in the turn order if you need him for another counter. It feels kind of weird considering how slow the character was in the show, but hey, I'll take it. On the damage dealing side of things, his offense comes in at a solid 6,418 at Relic 7, not the top percentile in the game, but still let's say about top 25%. More notably, he has the 5th highest armor penetration in the game among damage dealing characters, which will pair incredibly well with Moff Gideon's armor shred. The rest of his stats are pretty unremarkable, with 51,000 health and 45,000 protection, 59% tenacity, and 50% health steal. All told, this is a very solid framework for the role that he'll be playing in his team. To fully understand the kit, we need to start with the unique, which we can break into two parts. The first is that he has a stack mechanic and starts with 4 of them. These stacks give him a flat amount of defense, and any time he would be killed, he cleanses himself, regains full health and protection, and loses a stack. All in all, I think this ultimately feels more akin to Malak's health threshold mechanic than Droid Battalion on B1. Think of this as the character having a normal health and protection pool, but divided into 4 chunks. Once the first is lost, it's gone forever, and once each chunk after the first is lost, it can only be regained by using his first special. The defense is a nice small touch. The fact that it's flat means that it will benefit heavy damage dealing builds, but it does mean that a tankier defense build won't be able to interact with the unique. The penalty for this stack mechanic is that he only has a quarter of his health and protection at any given time. He also can't be crit, revived, or have his health and protection modified by in-battle effects. Critical immunity is incredibly powerful in this state of the game, but it's tarnished somewhat by the fact that his most powerful move scales with his stacks, and once the first stack is lost, the ability to deal that damage is gone with it, leaving this character almost feeling a little bit fragile. Not in the life or death sense, but more that this character really isn't looking to trade blows often, for fear of losing his ability to dish out as much damage permanently. While a character like B1 can regain his stacks every single turn he takes, Dark Trooper is cooldown gated. This is the only character in the game that can permanently lose power from when the match began, which is a little bit stressful to think about. More bizarrely, this part of the unique also prevents this character from benefiting from the majority of Moff Gideon's lead. The character can't be revived, which is truly unfortunate considering the lead's 40% offense bonus for reviving, and can't gain extra health and protection given by Gideon lead. The only thing that Gideon lead provides him is stacking offense anytime an enemy with a leader tag uses an ability. Not great, but not terrible either. All in all, an alright unique. I think the ideal way to use this character is going to be avoiding using this stack mechanic at all unless absolutely necessary. We don't want this character taking hits and losing that damage, so it's better to avoid him taking damage altogether. Tying in directly with the stack mechanic is the one-hit wonder of this kit, his basic. This is the reason to care about this character. The offense ratio is a staggering 250% per hit for a total of 1000%. This ratio is unheard of for a single move, with the closest thing we have technically being General Skywalker's 2-move combo of landing the daze on his AoE into a double damage kick. Of course, the big difference here is that General Skywalker can crit, but it means that we've got an amazing foundation for this character to mod around, and an offense ratio like this and a team with access to some of the easiest and most frequent offense stacking in the game means that this character has a bright future ahead of him. The advantage mechanic is a little bit too hard for this faction to access, meaning it's a little bit unrealistic to try to run a full crit build. A pure focus on offense stacking will likely remain the way to go for the near future, to keep his output consistent. Just to showcase how absurd this damage output can be, I set up a test with a Shardmate who already has a Relic 7 Dark Trooper, challenging them to try to kill my Scion. Not to toot my own horn, but I'd like to think that my Scion has excellent modding that could cause most existing Imp Trooper teams to break out in a cold sweat at the thought of trying to kill him. In a ridiculous showing, their Dark Trooper not only put my Scion in the ground, but did so even despite a big misplay where they didn't have Piet give offense up and mark to Dark Trooper. My Scion was only Relic 6. You could argue that this makes it an imbalanced test, but one Relic level worth of stats isn't going to be able to cover the staggering 50% offense that Dark Trooper skipped in this test footage. There are a few extra things to point out. Obviously, Dark Trooper is less interested in pairing up with Stark due to his inability to make use of Stark's buffs regularly. But the real story here to me is that Piet finally has an ally that has a powerhouse basic. Characters like Stark and Death Trooper did okay before, but this is a character whose output is broadly basic based, making a mark on him a no-brainer. Of course, the Piet benefits don't stop there, with Emperor's Trap offering Dark Trooper even more offense to abuse. This can get real nasty real quick, and having Piet basic land a double assist call on Dark Trooper will be a hilarious high roll. Moving on to his first special, we have a pretty respectable AoE. Unlike the basic, it can crit normally, and it brings a respectable 230% offense ratio. It's worth noting that this is the highest available to any Imp Trooper by a pretty significant margin. Assumedly these numbers were kept low in the past due to Imp Trooper's access to buffs. This ability is going to have the chance to dish out some real hurt, especially if you decide to splash in some crit damage, but the damage lost per basic makes it a little bit hard to justify the triangle. This special represents really the only way this character is going to be able to get advantage. It's not a part of the Imp Trooper or Remnant factions for now, and with a cooldown of 3, it's also going to be coming back a little bit too late for it to really matter a second time. For Imp Troopers especially, the fight should already be at the very end if not completely over. On a sadder note, this ability is where we find out that the 4th stack cannot be regained once it's gone. Unlike characters like B1 who can repair themselves and keep stacking infinitely, our stacks are a resource that really need to be protected. Fortunately, a team like Veers should completely dominate the battle and give the enemy no chance to fight back, so this weakness should remain only theoretical in most battles. Still, definitely sad to see. The last special feels a little bit out of place. Normally an ability offering a team a potential 50% turn meter should feel noteworthy, but Imp Troopers already have a constant flow of turn meter going on, and most of their characters do something while creating it, be it giving buffs or calling allies to assist. The only real utility this ability can offer is as a big turn meter train bridge for when you're about to run out of steam before you were able to kill a target. This is a pretty rare hypothetical, and should be even more rare with Dark Trooper on the team, punching at your opponents. But the use case does exist. To me, this feels like it might be aimed more towards whatever plans CG might have for the Imperial Remnant faction in the near future, which would also explain why Dark Trooper has a high base speed. I also appreciate that this ability actually has a purpose as a sort of turn skip, if you're in a situation where you know Dark Trooper would get counterattacked and lose a stack. It's a very small use case, but a nice tool to have nonetheless. For some general theory crafting, there are a couple of side ideas you could try with this character, with the standout to me being First Order Officer, giving Dark Trooper full turn meter, tenacity up, but most importantly, advantage, for enabling his basic to crit. Officer also satisfies Gideon Lead's team building and condition, but the one thing stopping this from sounding amazing to me is that Officer only gives offense up to First Order characters. We were on the verge of greatness, but no dice. Characters like Phasma also exist as a generic source of advantage, not really as flashy or interesting, and my biggest concern with either of these ideas is that advantage only boosts you up for one attack. And while that attack should be pretty powerful, I'm not convinced that this interaction is worth an entire team slot. On the Imperial Remnant side of things, it does feel like we're missing a piece of the puzzle, considering there's only 4 faction members. It is worth noting that Gideon's Lead prominently features the Scout Trooper, who we have yet to see in the game as an obtainable character. It seems like a fairly safe bet that we might be seeing him soon. All in all, Dark Trooper positions himself cleanly as a character that isn't exactly transformative for Imp Troopers, but fits in squarely with their overall team goals and delivers them a team-building piece that they've been missing a bit, in the form of a single-target jackhammer. The team was arguably already in a great spot before his release, so I'd argue his overall value leans more towards the luxury side of things. But he offers you ease of mind, knowing that you'll be able to power down whatever target you point him at. A solid character release that I'll certainly be looking to grab once he goes farmable. Thank you all for watching, and happy punching.